Hi again, everybody. My name is Greg Anderson, and this is the Good Timekeeping Show with Greg Anderson. You've seen these watches before. Some would call these the Casio Royale. This is the AE1200, and this is the AE1000. Different, slightly different model numbers for the different color combinations you see on these. I tend to only call this one the Casio Royale because it has the metal on it. And if the idea is to make it, you're making reference to some kind of a James Bond watch or something that looks like a James Bond watch, it only figures for me that it should have a metal bracelet and metal. And you know, the watch they're referring to that looked so much like this was a Seiko that had metal on it. So I wouldn't necessarily call this the Casio Royale with all this resin on it, or these others. But the nice thing about these, they all do the same things. So if you have a preference for color or style, you know, round versus kind of square, you know, have at it. And these aren't very expensive watches, so you'll have a lot of fun with that. But what I really want to show you today is kind of an update that's based on this same thing. And this is the Casio, this is the DW291H. So I show this to you just like these because one thing that fascinates me about this DW291 is that even though the display is a little bit different, if you press any combination of buttons on this watch, if you do the same combination of buttons on any of these other watches, they all do the same thing. Now there's an important distinction, of course. When you look at these watches side by side, the display is obviously different. Now you have the main timekeeping right there. You have similar information right there and there. You have this analog display on both of the watches. But here is the main thing where this has the map, the world map there that highlights different time zones. This one doesn't have that map. Instead, it has kind of this little animation here with these little bars that go across indicating 10 seconds. You know, they'll appear one every second until it reaches some, 10, and then they start to disappear for the next set of 10 and reappear. So that little animation, obviously, it's on this watch, not on this watch, this one, then map, but no little animation. But other than those on the display, I still maintain that if you press any combination of buttons on this watch and the same combination on this watch, they do the same things. So let me just focus now on this watch and we'll get into the review. Now I'm recording this video near the end of the year 2021, which means this watch has been around for about a year already. Right down there where it looks like it says zoom, that actually says 200M for 200 meters. So it's a 200 meter water resistant watch. Down there it says HD, which doesn't mean high definition. It means heavy duty. So this watch, a lot of things about it would make you think maybe it's a G-Shock, but right there it's HD. Not G-Shock, but a heavy-duty watch. But there are a lot of great things about it, so let's get into it. Of course, here on the main timekeeping screen, you've got the day of the week and the month and date. There, as I showed you before, this little animation with these bars that appear and disappear in 10-second patterns there. There is a little analog watch, which no matter what mode you're in, this analog watch is going to show you the local time. So, hour hand, minute hand, and second hand going around there. And it's tiny. I admit it's tiny. You got to have pretty good eyes to see that. Or you have to stop and really pay attention to it to see that well. And then, of course, your main time display there with some indicators below that of what you have activated. In this case, the hourly signal is active. And, of course, you can have the local time in either a 12-hour or 24-hour display. So that's great on the main timekeeping screen. If I push the mode button, I can go ahead to the world time screen, and you can choose some other time zone in another part of the world. And if you want to change that, let's see. Yeah, you don't even have to press the adjust button. You just push this button down here to change it, and that's as though I'm going eastward on the map. And let's see if it only goes in one direction. Okay, eastward on the map, so you can go all the way around the world and show time zones from each of these time zones named after a major city in that time zone. And I guess I like to keep it on UTC most of the time. That's just what I do. Someday maybe I'll be a pilot and I'll have my Zulu time that I want to do. So again, world time, but up there's still the local time there. Oh, and before I forget, when you're in the world time mode, if you want to quickly swap your local time with the world time, these two top buttons pressed at the same time will give you that swap. And if you notice there, now the world time is Denver and the local time has become UTC as indicated there. And also if I go back to my home time, also now that's UTC. So a quick swap right there if you happen to do a lot of traveling, or for some reason you want to, just have those two time zones that you interchange on a regular basis. It's so easy. Change modes, and now it's the alarm mode. This has 5 alarms, and it's very similar to what you would find on most other digital watches. If I wanted to change the alarm time, I press and hold the adjust button until things start to blink, and now I can move that ahead or backward again with hours and minutes. And by default, as I've adjusted that, it has turned on that alarm. Now the nice thing about this, some customizing here, you can have the alarm go on one time. Okay, so the next time it's 6 a.m., that alarm will go, and then it will go back to off position. Or if I push this button down here, I could just have it be, oh, wait a minute. I switched to the other alarm. Let's stay on alarm number 1. Is it, it's this button here. Okay, the adjust button. When things aren't blinking, I tap the adjust button. So now it says the alarm is on, and that means it'll be on every day. And so it's either off or it's on one time and then turns itself off for the rest of the days, or it's on every day. So you have that option with each of the 5 alarms. Just a one time only or on every day. And then right here, this is the hourly signal. So right now I've got the hourly signal on. I can turn that off just by tapping the adjust button. And of course that just beeps every hour on the hour. Okay, the next mode here is the countdown timer. And you can set this to, all the way up to a full 24 hours. If you set it to all zeros, it will be a 24-hour countdown timer. If I start it right now, it's kind of nice. It has hours, minutes, seconds, and tenths of a second in the countdown. But if I wanted to change that to something else, of course, I press the adjust button until things start to blink. Then I can adjust hours and minutes and seconds also. So I could customize it all the way down to, number of seconds in that countdown. And some people think, well, that's really nice. Then the next mode is your stopwatch mode. And this, if you start this, it will go all the way up to 24 hours. And if you don't stop it, it'll reset to 0 and just keep on going. And then you have your split time right there, pressing that adjust button. So even though the stopwatch is still running, as I can prove right there, you do have that split time, or stop it and reset using that button. So those are your main modes, and it's kind of fun. When you change modes, you get a little bit of an animation for, that little segment right there. And that's kind of just, one little extra treat to see a little bit of animation when you change modes. Isn't that fun? Now, one more thing to keep in mind here on your main home screen, I'll call it the home time screen. Right there, you're seeing the local time, and right now I've got it set to the Denver time zone, or the Mountain time zone where I am. But when it's like this, if I just tap this search button down here, there's another time zone that I can select, and so I can, there's my local time in the analog screen, but there's New York City, or it could be Sydney, or it could be, there's up to 4 time zones that you can select. So this is still considered your home timekeeping screen here, but there's an alternate time zone available there. Now, if I scroll through the other modes and come back to my home timekeeping screen, by default, it takes me back to time zone number 1, the Denver time zone. Now, if I want to select one of these other time zones, and let's say instead of New York City, I want that to be Chicago or something. So what I do is I just hold that adjust button until it starts to blink, and here I can go like I'm going eastward on the map by pressing this button, or I can take it back as though I'm going westward on the map, and now I've got Chicago as time zone number 2. If I push the mode button here, I can select whether Chicago's daylight saving time is going to be displayed there. So daylight saving time on or off for Chicago when I select that for my my second time zone there. So again, if I scroll through all the modes, go back to home, there I am. Now, when the watch was brand new, you first want to set it up. Here you are in this screen here. So press and hold this adjust button until things start to blink. And first of all, you can, zero out the seconds right there as you're setting the time. Press mode, and now this is where I can select whether I want daylight saving time on or off here. This is where I select my home time zone for time zone number 1. So you can go, westward on the map with this button up top, or eastward on the map to find your time zone. I'm going to put it back on Denver. Mode, again, now I can set the, the time, hours and minutes. And here I can select whether I want a 12-hour or 24-hour display. And there I can set the year, month, day of the month. And here, the backlight can either be on for 1.5 seconds or 3 seconds. And I can select that right there. A lot of people like to use a shorter duration just so they don't use up the battery as much. But in this case, since it is a 10-year battery, and I really don't use the backlight all that often, I'll go ahead and set that to a 3-second duration on the backlight. And now we're back to the beginning there. You can scroll through all those settings again. And that's really all it takes to set up this watch. Now that I've got it in 24-hour mode, that affects all the other modes. They'll display as 24 hours. So there you go. Quick peek at the back of this watch. There you can see the model number, the module there, stainless steel back, made in China, all that, 20 bar or 200 meter water resistance. If you need to change the battery, then there's those 4 screws that hold the back of the case on. And also you might need to remove the watch band, because that thing kind of holds the back of the case on as well right there. But otherwise, it's a good sturdy looking watch. Like I said, it kind of reminds you of a G-Shock, and you might wonder, is this a G-Shock? One thing that would concern me, that kind of distinguishes this from the G-Shock is that crystal. They say it's a mineral crystal. It's pretty tough. It's pretty nice, but it's right there. Nothing really to protect it. It's just this flat crystal there. So if you're prone to scratching the crystal on your watch, not a lot of protection for that crystal, but you could probably polish it up with a little bit of poly watch if you do happen to scratch it. So compare that to, say, this G-Shock, which then has a little bit of a raised edge all around the edges of the crystal. So even though that's not going to be a perfect way to protect the crystal, it maybe will protect it from, things like this. I'm touching the border around the crystal, but because that border sticks out, I'm not actually touching the crystal when I do this. Whereas with this one, there I am actually touching the crystal. But apart from that, there's really not a lot more that would distinguish this from a G-Shock. Oh, maybe internally, G-Shocks have great, extra protection that are, it's all internal to keep that module protected. And maybe this doesn't have quite that much. But you know what? I've really decided Casio watches in general are tough anyway. So this could be a budget alternative to a G-Shock. You see, it's nice and big and clear, and 200 meter water resistant. So. And the price is also attractive. When a G-Shock like this with multiband 6 is going to cost you, somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 or more. Whereas this one, you can find this for somewhere between $25 and $30, depending on how carefully you shop. I found this one at a local Walmart store for $30. They also had one with a different color scheme at that Walmart that I could have got that one instead, or could have got them both, I suppose. Or there's another one that looks a lot like this, but it has a little more red here around the face. And I didn't see that right there in the Walmart store, but maybe through the website. And the typical places you might shop online, if you're looking through eBay or Amazon or some of those other places, you could probably find the one with the red on it and get that for, again, about the same price for all of that. It just kind of has a heft to it. It feels like a serious watch, but the price makes it really, really attractive. Now, this one, it's a 10-year battery. So, I kind of like my solar-powered watches that charge themselves. But hey, if it's a 10-year battery, that's the next best thing, I would say, to having something that charges itself. Every 10 years, you might have to change a battery. And that's not bad at all. Also, what about accuracy? This G-Shock here has multiband 6, so it automatically corrects itself to the right time with atomic time reception, right? This one here, according to the manufacturer's specifications, will keep time to about 30 seconds per month. The accuracy plus or minus 30 seconds per month or better. However, I got to tell you something about this watch. So I got this a few days ago, and I set it up, and I was making a video, and this just happened to be in the video. So about 5 days ago, I set it to the right time, and look at it now against this atomic watch here. Look at that. That's, I would say, maybe about a quarter second off It's really, really close to still being the right time. So in 5 days, if it's a quarter second off, okay, then that would mean, let's see, in 10 days, it'd be half a second off. In 20 days, it would be 1 second off. So in 30 days, it would be less than 2 seconds wrong. So even though Casio says this will be good to within 30 seconds a month, at this rate, it's looking like it's good to within like 2 seconds a month, which is comparable to some of the good luck I've had with this watch right here. Even though this watch was only supposed to be accurate to within 30 seconds a month, this one turned out to be super accurate to within like 2 seconds a month. So, while I prefer multiband 6, atomic time, solar powered watches, I don't have a lot to complain about with this one, with a 10-year battery and accurate to within about 2 seconds a month at the rate I'm going. That's outstanding. That's great. The watch band is, it feels like a heavy duty, even like a G-Shock watch band. So I think that's going to give me some good wear on that over the years. And so, again, there's really not much to complain about as long as you like the styling of this. And I know some people don't. That's why there's tons and tons of different styles of Casio watches for you out there. But if you like this, I say it's really easy to decide to get this watch. The price is right. It's tough. It does a lot of great things. It's accurate. 10-year battery. I mean, really, what's not to like? Now let's do an official weigh-in. This one weighs in on my scale here, 63 grams, more or less. It's not the world's most perfect scale, but yeah, that's got some pretty good heft to it. So compare that to, say, one of these G-Shocks here, and we're pretty comparable to a nice heavy-duty G-Shock. This G-Shock's a little bit smaller, and so that comes in just under 50 grams. Now, something like this Casio Royale, what do we get there with all the metal on it? 87 grams. The plastic resin version of that Casio Royale, 40 grams. Something heavy duty like this Casio Duro weighs in at 93 grams. This is kind of the round, colorful alternative to the Casio Royale right there. And again, back to our DW291, 64 grams, somewhere in there. So got some good heft to it. Serious watch. And yeah, I like it. Let's also just do a quick check on the backlight. As you can see, it kind of has two little lights here that come from the bottom corners, and nice little amber glow. It actually is a pretty good looking backlight, and lights everything up on that screen really well. I do like the way that backlight works. And let's see what happens if I hold the backlight down. Will it stay illuminated as long as I hold it down? Oh, no, it won't. No matter if I hold it down or just tap it, it will give me, in this setting, 3 seconds of backlight. And still, I hope that's enough for me to see what time it is and figure that out. I suppose the only other real concern I have about this is this little analog readout right here. You can see on the Casio Royale, it's much bigger and much more useful. With it being so tiny, it really is kind of a problem to see that clearly and know what you're looking at. In fact, let me just quickly access the diagnostic screen. If I kind of tap this search button and hold it and then press these others at the same time, then I'm into kind of a diagnostic screen. And I'll do that on both of these watches so you can see with every segment of LCD visible there. Yeah, you can see that, that's just smaller than it is over there. So, but otherwise, as I've said before, when you press any combination of buttons on either of these watches, you get the same things happening on the readouts. And that's about it for now. Once again, if you want an alternative to the G-Shock, save a few dollars and still get a heavy-duty watch, you might consider the DW291H, available in 3 different color combinations with a nice sturdy resin band on each. And that's about it for now. I hope you will join me soon because I do have more ideas, yes, for more new episodes of the Good Timekeeping Show.